Sure. Okay, cool. Well, this honestly, like, this is, I just call this the Business of Voice Acting panel. Have you guys, who went to the rave last night? How was it?
It was lovely. I picked the music, so I felt like I did a good job.
I love the Toto circle.
Oh my gosh, yeah, so there were many trains going around in circles.
Is that right?
And
We
yes,
blessed the rains down in Africa. So.
Yeah, we did. And we had a party rock session. It was wonderful.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
We had glow sticks.
And glow sticks.
Face painting. Yes, there was face painting.
That's awesome. Did you guys go out to the thing? I know I sat with you.
The Matsuri?
Yeah, the Matsuri.
Oh,
yesterday.
yes, I was able to go. I did that the last hour, yes.
Really good.
I did that before I went to the Kira Buckland panel with you and Sungwon and the
right?
5 other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great. I thought the food was really good. I enjoyed it. Yeah. It was very good. So this panel, really what I talk about, I mean, if you don't know who I am, I think I've met everybody here, but I'm David Vincent, professional voice actor. I'm based out of Los Angeles, and I've been voice acting professionally for about 20 years now. And this panel really is just anything we want to talk about. I kind of talk a little bit about the business side of voice acting. So, and I know there's one person in here that really wants to get into the industry, and I just talk a little bit about that and how to get into the industry, just kind of some of the nuts and bolts of what it's like to actually work in this industry. Hey, welcome. Come on in. And so it's really more of an open dialogue, just so that we can talk about kind of like behind the scenes of what it's like in this industry, because it's a crazy industry to be in. So if you have any questions, please just shout them out or raise your hand. I mean, there's just a few of us in here. So this is really just more of an intimate conversation about the industry. Does anybody have any initial questions about the industry? Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of voice actors who've been active for many years kind of switching more to the directing role, like...
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Like
Steve.
you're doing that, yeah.
Tony Oliver.
Like Tony Oliver?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even me. I've been directing, well, to a certain extent. I'm so busy with Unlocked. That's a full-time job. That I've actually, unfortunately, had to turn down like 2 directing jobs in a row, which is really, really tough to do. Yeah. I think that actors make great directors, in all honesty, especially a seasoned actor, somebody who's been doing it a lot of years. I also have taught voice acting when I had time. Pardon me, I used to teach voice acting. I had a course, actually I taught a course up here about 5 years ago. It was great. I had a fantastic turnout. There was like 75 people came. But yeah, I've noticed that as well. I've seen a lot of my colleagues, my acting colleagues, are starting to direct now, and I think it's kind of a natural progression. Finding a good director is kind of tough to do, especially directing ADR, which is really technical. You have to be, really well versed and trained in how to work with that technology and the beeps and then placing and all of that stuff. So I think that the studios are tapping actors like me to come in and direct, just simply because we're seasoned, we've been there, we've done this for a very long time now, and we know it kind of backwards and forwards. Not every actor is meant to direct, but some people it's just a natural thing, and for me it was just a very natural progression to start directing. It's very easy for me and I enjoy it. Yeah.
So if there is an aspiring artist who wants to go right into directing, they should probably focus, have a lot of background in voice acting, theater acting, so they know what the actors are doing and thus are able to transition easier to being a director and have an easier time becoming a director?
That's really a good comment. You don't have to be an actor to be a director. Alex Von David is a tremendous director. He's directed me in a lot of stuff, but Kill la Kill is one of the main ones. And he's just a phenomenal director, but he's never acted a day in his life. So that is a unique person to find, is a director who has never actually acted, who is really good at what they do. So Alex Von David is kind of like a diamond. He's very rare to find. He's a unicorn, I should say. To find somebody like him. But in my opinion, I like working with directors who have acted before. And the reason why is because they speak our language and they get it. Like I know that I can go in and when I'm directing somebody, even in the panel yesterday, it's easy for me to, I know what I want to get out of you. I know what I want you to say. So it's easier for me to be able to convey that to an actor because I speak the same language as them. And conversely, working with like Tony Oliver, he's an actor. And he's a really good actor. He does musical theater, he's a singer, he's an artist. And I love working with him because whenever he's directing me, like I just get it. Like it takes one thing, one thing for him to say, and I already know what he wants, and I can give it to him. So I like working with all directors, but I mean, working with somebody like Tony Oliver, who is an actor's actor, is a lot of fun because I totally get it. He has to say virtually nothing, and I'm like, okay, gotcha. I know what you want. So, but it is helpful, in my opinion. Does anybody else have any questions? Well, what I'll do is I'm just going to talk a little bit about the basics of getting into the industry. Now, when I first got my start, I was an actor in New York. I was doing stand-up, sketch comedy, and I did a lot of theater. And I was doing a show in Times Square, doing a bit where I was making fun of TV commercials, and there happened to be a voiceover agent in the audience, and that's how I got my start in this world and in this industry. Now, the difference between back then and now is like night and day, and we covered this a little bit in Kira's panel yesterday, but like when I first started out, you had to be in New York, you had to be in Los Angeles, and you had to have an agent. You flat out didn't get auditions. There was just nothing available. You had to have an agent. That's the only way that you even knew that these jobs were there. Now, the industry has changed so much that literally, I mean, there's so much more opportunity now if you want to be a voice actor than there ever was when I started. So the barrier to entry now is really, really much lower than it was when I first started in this industry. Now, with the internet and technology, I mean, there's just so much more voiceover that's needed, which is really, really cool. When I first started, I literally was on my bike in Manhattan going from audition to audition to audition all around the city. When I first moved to Los Angeles, it was the same thing, just in my car stuck in traffic going from audition to audition. And now, what's really cool about it is that you can audition from home. So, and my home setup is just a blue snowball microphone and my Mac, my laptop, which I use GarageBand. And if you're on PC, you can use Audacity, which is free. So now, the downside to that is that I have had years and years and years of direction from casting directors and from my agents whenever I was auditioning. And so I got that direct feedback. They're like, no, David, try it this way. Let's try it this way. No, that's not the intention. Try it this way with this intent. And now, because you're auditioning from home, you just don't get that feedback. You don't get that direction, which is really kind of tough. You're self-directing and sending it off into the ether and hoping that you book it, So if you're interested in getting in, and I know we talked about this yesterday as well, what I would really recommend that you do is take classes, take voiceover classes, voice acting classes. We're in Seattle. I mean, this is a huge, metro area with a lot of work. But take voiceover classes and take them from somebody who has got credentials, somebody who has credits that are verifiable. They've either cast, numerous things, or they have themselves acted in them, or they've directed, or whatever else it is, but they need to have those credits. Because as I said yesterday, there's a lot of people who will be totally happy to take your money, and pretend like they know what they're doing, when the reality is that they don't. So if you're going to take those classes, and I highly recommend that you do, make sure that they're with somebody who has credentials, legitimate credentials. Yes?
When you said that you can record the voiceovers at home to kind of get an audition. You don't get that feedback that you're used to getting. When you take all these classes, would it be good, would you suggest networking with your fellow classmates, teachers, and other staff to kind of form a good connection where, let's say, you do have an audition and your friend comes over and kind of gives you tips, okay, that sounded really good, but how about you try it this way? To kind of, that way you have a second ear, and they have the same ear or close to the same ear as what you have, because it's hard to judge yourself. It's easier to kind of help somebody else, even when you're listening back to your rewind.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. What she said. Honestly, and I'll tell you this as well, is networking, and you said that. That's a huge keyword right there, is networking. Taking those classes, you're going to meet other fellow voice actors. You're going to meet the teacher. I taught back in around 2013, I taught voiceover at a school in Los Angeles twice a week. And then that's when I did the session up here. I came up and did a special voiceover intensive. It was a 8-hour course, but it was a voiceover intensive on commercials and then animation. And so the networking is crucial. Some of my students, I was able to get cast in projects because I knew them, because I was listening to them while they were taking my course, and I was like, oh, he would be really good for this. She's got a great voice for this. I know that she can do this accent, or whatever else it was, and I was actually able to help a number of my students get cast, and 2 of them actually got voiceover agents. So, yeah, I mean, taking the classes, obviously just for the skills is super important, but the networking is really important. It's a big part of it, yeah.
To piggyback off the animations, to kind of go back to what you said a few minutes ago about the rising ability and convenience of auditioning from home.
Yes. Go anywhere. Here's the thing with agents, and this is what I'll say about agents. I can credit my career to myself, not my agent. That's a big thing for me to say. I was with one of the top, most well-respected voiceover agents in Los Angeles. I was signed with her for 10 years. And honestly, I have my career because I hustled, not because of anything that she did for me. She and I parted ways, not amicably. And I'm a nice guy, like I like everybody, but she and I just butted heads, you know, and I was like, hey, why am I not auditioning for this? And she and I just butted heads. So I wound up leaving her. And I went for 2 years without an agent at all, and it wasn't even a blip on my radar. I was still working because of the relationships that I've created and that I've cultivated over the past 15 years of being in Los Angeles.
ID networking again.
Exactly, right back to the networking again. Now, I've recently signed with Abrams Artists, which is a very, very large agency. And what I will say about them, and I just booked my first job through them, what I will say about Abrams is that they will get different types of gigs and auditions. Like, I'm auditioning for some like pretty top tier stuff, which is great. If you're thinking like along the lines of Disney, Warner Bros., that type of stuff. So that's good. You're not going to get those without an agent. So for that reason, I would say that the agents are certainly necessary. And like I said yesterday too, I mean, a big part of what I do as a voice actor are the commercials. Those things pay. They pay a lot better than anime. And so doing those commercials, you're not going to get those without an agent, the ones that pay. Because you can go to places like voices.com or voice123.net, the pay-to-play websites, where you can sign up for a membership and then audition to your heart's content. But most of those are going to be low-paying, non-union jobs where they're just buyouts. They pay you $50 or whatever it is. So for the bigger ones that are union, that pay residuals, and that's the magic word, yes, like the commercials, the television commercials, the radio spots, things like that. But what I'll say this about the commercials as well is even that's changing. I mean, back in the 90s, and the early 2000s, I mean, that was where there was big money. And now those are just fewer and far in between.
As the trend makes to more like online ads.
Yeah, exactly. And the Screen Actors Guild, they have done a very poor job, in my opinion, of negotiating contracts for, the industry's just changing. The whole industry's changing. So neither good nor bad, it's just changing. You just have to roll with the punches. There's more work to be had, which is great. Does anybody else have a question? Yes.
I've noticed a lot of artists tend to be very shy when they first start going out. So networking is very difficult for them to get contact. What type of skills or suggestions would you suggest, practices they can go to try to make these networking connections that for someone who is shy or has a hard time just going right up to people and trying to form connections?
You know what? Honestly, what you're doing right now, you're at a convention, right? Mm-hmm. And what are we doing here? We're meeting each other. We're talking to each other. I know you guys now. I know that you guys are engaged and you've got an upcoming wedding. I know you guys. I mean, when you come to conventions, this is networking. Think of it that way, and just try not to think about it as networking. Think of it as just having fun. Honestly, that's what I try to do when you think about networking, because I hate schmoozing. I hate it with a passion.
Yes.
I really don't like to do it. So what I do is I try to just paint it in, hey, it's a social call. You're just going to hang out, what's up, man? And just try to think of it that way.
Okay.
I try to do that with a lot of things. Like I have a big meeting tomorrow in Seattle with a venture capital firm, right? And these are the guys in suits, and they're going to look at my my deck for Unlocked and be like, okay, tell me about this. How am I going to make my return on my investment? And you can't get too worked up about it. You just go with other people. Just go in and talk to them. Hey, man, we're doing something really cool. Check this out.
Okay.
And with networking, it's the same thing. It's just go in. You're just meeting people, nice people. Everybody's, people honestly, innately are nice. We all want to get along. So I wouldn't be too worried about that.
Okay.
Anybody else have questions? What else can I talk about as far as the business side?
Oh.
Yeah.
When you go in, when I'm more of a visual artist, so this may differ for the voice actors, is that understanding how much you should be paid, or if you have a friend who comes up, or someone you've networked and they're a gamer and they would like you to voice over a game to kind of get you guys both, just a small project. How do you figure out how much to charge? Is it hourly? Do you get royalties for it? Do you do it kind of down because it's small and raise it up when it's someone who is a bigger company? Or they all set rates? How do you figure that all out?
See, that's a really good question. Really good question. And there's no right answer for it, unfortunately. Here's the thing, is that the pay scale for voiceover work is all over the place. You have got, and it doesn't matter whether it's union or non-union, it's all over the place. Video games, for instance, don't pay residuals at all, which means that like I'm in AAA title video games and I'm making the same paycheck for it. What's that?
I just said please.
Oh. But I mean, it's all over the place. You have got a video game, which the going rate for a video game is, I think it's $900 a session, and then anything over 4 hours, then you bump up to like $1,500 or something along those lines. And then a lot of like anime really doesn't pay well. It pays anywhere from like $75 to $150 an hour, which is really not good. And then there's commercials, which is the session fee is about, I think it's $1,000, but then you get residuals, off of that.
Residuals, what do you mean by residuals?
So what residuals are is every time that commercial plays, you get paid.
Oh, so like royalties?
Royalties.
Okay.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So if it's a friend of yours who is wanting to cast you in something, really, I mean, if you guys are friends, just talk to them and be like, well, what are you looking to pay?
Okay.
And I wouldn't throw out a number. I would kind of let them come at you and see whether it's worth your time or not. Or if you just want to help them out, do pro bono, you know?
Yeah.
As far as setting your price, I know that, like, I'm a member of a private group on Facebook, and it's your prerogative as an actor to turn stuff down. So, like, there's stuff that's being cast now, and in this private group, you know, I see my colleagues going in and asking each other, they're like, hey, they're kind of cutting corners here, and they're not paying us for X and only paying for Y. Are you guys going to do this audition? And they'll either, you know, concur or say, nope, I'm not doing it, you know? And so it's really tough to set a price. I would say on average, for video game work, if it's non-union, you can say $200 an hour with a 2-hour minimum, so $400, regardless of whether you're in there for 1 minute or 2 hours, the full 2 hours. That's kind of the going rate for non-union. For non-union commercial work, that's buyouts, I mean, those are all over the place. I mean, it literally is all over the place. You have one that's like, hey man, do this and we'll pay you $500. And then another one that's like, we'll pay you $40,000. So it just, I mean, I wish that I could say the magic number, but it really is just everywhere. You kind of have to just go project by project.
And then get a written statement saying this is what we've agreed on, and both parties sign it?
Yeah, you send them an invoice. Like what I'll do is I'll send, like I just did a gig for Panasonic headphones or whatever, and so they're gaming headphones. Bose. They have Bose technology now. I don't know.
They're all blending together.
They're all blending together, yeah. And so, you know, they just said, hey, we're going to pay you X amount of dollars per spot, and you can record it from your home studio, and great. And then so I'll just do it, and then I'll send them an invoice.
Okay.
So you've mentioned union and non-union, and I've heard with the Tales series specifically that, oh, they only work with non-union actors, whereas other places will work with only union actors.
Yes.
What exactly are the pros and cons of being union versus non-union?
So here's the pros and cons with being union versus non-union. Is the pros of being union is that the union has, you know, if you are a member of the union, then the union jobs that you get, and this is really because more for on-screen, I've done on-screen like guest starring roles on TV shows and things like that, the union set those pay scales very much to our advantage. The disadvantage of being a member of the union is that you're not supposed to do any non-union work, which means that you technically are only supposed to do union work.
When you sign up to use mobile games and video games as an example, when you do either or, are you contracted for that series? For video games, are you contracted to that series for that characters during the duration of that series localization? And for mobile games, are you contracted for that one character, and then every time they want to go ahead and reskin him and do it like a variant?
Yes, excellent question. The short answer to that is no, we're not contracted. I've been doing Jin Kisaragi and Hakumen and Blaze Blue for nearly a decade now. And, but I mean, I could be recast tomorrow. And just the same thing, like there's a series called Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night, the Fate series.
There's more Fates than there are Blaze Blue spin-offs.
Yes. But like in the original Fate Stay Night, I played Assassin. And then when Fate Zero came out, they cast me as Gilgamesh. And Gilgamesh in the original Fate Stay Night was played by a very talented Grant George. And I'm very thankful that I got Gilgamesh because I really love the character. But I mean, there's just no guarantee. You know, we get recast all the time. And with video games, it's the same thing. I've been lucky enough to be martial law, starting with Tekken 6 and all the variations that have come out since then, and I'm still martial law, which is great, but they could totally recast me tomorrow. And that type of stuff happens all the time, and it's not because they think you're a bad actor or they think you're a bad person, it's just simply because it changes production hands or whatever it is, and they make the decision, you know, however they make it to recast.
Does that include also non-video games such as cartoons or animes?
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely. There was a anime called the something Lokai Clan.
Nero Rise of the...
Yeah, Nero. That's right, Rise of the Lokai Clan. And I got cast originally as the guy that had the hawk thing.
Yeah.
I can't remember the
main
character's
character.
name. Yeah, one of the main characters. But they wound up recasting me in a different series because I sounded too much like one of the other actors. Our voices were just so close that they're like, we can't tell you guys apart. Bye-bye, you know. But, I mean, it wasn't like they did it because they didn't like me, because then they turned around in the same company, recast me in another series. They actually went and cast me in Blue Exorcist. So, I mean, that type of stuff happens all the time, too. And it's just part of the course.
And you would say it holds true regardless of whether it's mobile or console?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Now, like, for instance, my business partner, Bryce, I can't remember the name of the video game, but it's a mobile game that is just, it's a series now, and it just keeps coming, and and he's been recording on this. It's the gift that keeps on giving for him, because it's a continual booking, and it's a nice gig because it pays really well.
Nice.
For when it is like the same character, you might or not, you might get cast, might not. Do you have to re-audition, or do they say, hey, we're going to do this, we'd like you to reprise your role, will you do it?
That's exactly how it is.
Okay.
Like, for instance, Robin, you know, like, they just send me an email, they're like, hey, we need you to come in because we got more Robin for you. You know, and so, like, that is awesome. You love getting those emails and phone calls because it's like, groovy. You know, you don't have to audition for it, it's work.
Okay.
Oh man, I can't tell you. I reprised a role that I did many years ago, but I can't tell you which one it is. But it's coming out.
Can you give us
end of
an
the year.
estimate?
I can't. It comes out the end of the year.
Okay.
End of the year. I'm super excited about it, but no, I'm under a hardcore contract, so I can't say.
Yeah. Are NDAs hard to keep?
You know, honestly,
Because you were so excited.
I know. Here's the most frustrating thing is like, I got stuff that, like, it's in the hopper. I've already recorded it that I would love to share with you guys, but I can't do it. They are hard to keep. When I first got cast is when Robin first was put into Super Smash Brothers. I had to sit on that for a year, and I couldn't tell anybody about it, you know, and I was so excited about it. But here's the thing, I understand totally why the NDAs are in place. Jonathan Klein, who runs New Generation Pictures, really explained it to me well why they have the NDAs. And the reality is that an actor blabbing their mouth about a character can wind up costing the company millions of dollars.
Like Tom Holland blabbing the new Spider-Man thing at Ace Comic-Con.
Yeah, you can't do that. You really can't do that. So they have those NDAs in place for a reason, and the reason is that, like, loose lip sync ships and that. Jonathan, I won't share the example with you, but he gave me a very specific example of an actress who broke her NDA, talked about the character, talked about what was happening in the video game on social media, and it wound up costing the video game company about $10 million in revenues.
Really?
Yeah, totally. They had to, it just destroyed the surprise. And so, yeah. So unfortunately, they're there for a reason, and you have to keep them.
That definitely makes sense. It's just, I see, like, you mentioned I can't share this, I can't
I
share
know.
that. So it's like, is it really hard for you to keep?
It reminds me of when I asked you about Alter Memory before it was so good.
Yep.
You're like Hagrid.
I should
I should have said that. Yeah. So with NDAs, is there like a specific hard date, like, okay, now you can talk about it starting like November 2022?
Release.
You want to know what? I honestly, I wait for the video game company to release it.
Okay.
And then that, or usually people start tweeting at me and they're like, oh my God, you're in this. And I'm like, I am. and then I can share it. But normally, I just don't ever post anything about any character that I've done until I see people tweeting about it or until I see some official announcement from the video game company. And usually that means you wait until the day of the release.
Okay.
So very, very rarely have I had a company reach out to me and say, okay, you can talk about it. Normally you just wait
And
until
there's
it's
no
out.
mention in the contract of you can start talking about it this day?
No.
Okay.
No, basically the contract says we own you, we own your voice, sold to the devil. Yeah.
This isn't a question or anything, it's just kind of a comment I found out. The mobile game Grand Order, which is a gigantic following, just announced that the singularities of Camelot and Babylonia will be getting animated arcs.
Ooh.
Babylonia features both Vanilla Gilgamesh, the one you play, and a caster version.
Ooh.
So if you want to try and lobby for those, because they dubbed the first Grand Order, which is basically the first singularity.
So more OVAs, you mean?
More OVAs.
That's cool.
Oh, is it a series or an OVA?
Yeah, the first one was an OVA, but it's looking more. Right now, I can't say it's anything more than an OVA.
Okay. Well, still,
But
that's cool.
potential.
Yeah, potential, man.
You get 2 versions of Gil. So.
Oh, dude, I'd be all over it, man. I love that character. One of my favorite characters to voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of lobbying for a role, what exactly does that entail? Because sometimes I hear even with screen actors, if they really want a role, they'll lobby for it, but I never hear what that means or how people do that.
It's basically being pushy. Here's what I did for Grimjow. I lobbied for Grimjow. So who was it? It was Wendy Lee.
I love Wendy Lee.
I love Wendy. Wendy had cast me as Grimjow in a video game called Shattered Blade.
Oh my god.
That came out about 2 years before he ever came into the anime arc. And I went in and I played the character in the video game, and she showed me the scene where Grimjow is just laughing maniacally while he's just beating the crap out of Ichigo. Yeah. I saw that, I fell in love with the character, I was like, oh my god. I have to play this guy in the anime. And so I wound up calling Studiopolis, which is a studio that was dubbing Bleach at the time, going, hey guys, it's David Vincent. How can we help you? You know that character Grimjow? Yeah, he doesn't come out for 2 years. So I kept on calling them, and then I would call, and then finally, I just got this email to come in for auditions at Studiopolis. I was like, great, I'll be there. And then there's the sides for Grimjow with 40 other actors all auditioning for him. So I went to the director and lobbied and said, hey man, I played him in the video game because I really want to reprise my role and play him in the anime. And luckily, I won the role.
Yay!
So yeah. So yeah, thank you. I was pushy. You have to be pushy though. Honestly, sometimes if you want it, to a certain extent, you can't get to the point where you're annoying. Because if you're annoying, then nobody's going to want to cast you, you know?
Yeah.
But if you have something, if there's a role that you want, be pushy. Go for it. Does anybody else have any questions?
Got about 143.
Oh, okay.
17 minutes?
Yeah.
Cool. Yes?
What could you give an example of the worst time working with voice acting and your best time working in voice acting without
Worst time meaning just frustration, that type of stuff?
Yeah, but what was the most frustrating in trying to do a voice over? What was so hard, made it so hard to get it started, get it going, even trying to understand the directors or the character?
Oh, okay. So I'll give you a couple of answers on that. So bad times with voice acting.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
okay.
yes.
So I would say I did a video game, and it was called Spec Ops: The Line, and it was a whole lot of the grenade shouting. It was what they call the throat rippers, and I had gone in, and the director, I was had literally screamed to the point where I was totally losing my voice, and the director just didn't care. He's like, no, man, it's authentic, mate. I like it. Keep going, right? And so he kept, and so I totally lost my voice, and wound up losing another job the next day because I couldn't do it. And the job the next day was a huge paying gig. So yeah, I mean that was extremely frustrating. But another point of like frustration in this career, I can say, was like probably the early 2000s. When you go for like months and months and months without booking anything. And that can be very discouraging. You know, when I was still young in my career, trying to get my a foothold in this industry, and then, you know, just going for months with no gigs. You know, and then you've got your agent that's going, well, why aren't you booking? Well, I'm doing what I do, you hear me, you know, and so that could be extremely frustrating. The good part about voice acting is staying persistent and doing it anyway when you don't feel like it. Just do it and keep doing it. And then probably the best part of this career is this, is coming to conventions. It is my absolute favorite thing to do. You know, I get to travel, meet new people, make friends, you know, and hang out and talk about an industry that I really love. Nice. So for me, it's really wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes.
What background in singing voice acting?
Oh my gosh, yes. Background in singing is, do you sing?
I'm an opera singer.
Opera?
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So cool. Yeah, honestly, the singers make the best voiceover artists because you know how to use your voice. You're trained vocally, you know, and so you can do all these things with your voice. So yeah, I mean, honestly, I can't tell you how many actors are also singers and vice versa. Cassandra Lee Morris sings like an angel. Wow, she's got a beautiful voice. Also, Vic Mignogna.
Really?
Great singer.
Yeah, he did do the Brothers song.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, so many of my friends and colleagues are also singers. So yeah, 100%. If you can sing, that is only going to work to your advantage in this industry. Really good. I can't sing. I can't sing my way out of a wet paper bag. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, I'm trying to think of any other basic industry knowledge that I can bestow upon you guys.
Oh,
yes.
Here's one that might work. What is one thing that you have learned when you were first starting out as an actor, voice actor, that you now have taken and know how to not do it or make it better now that you have some experience under your belt? Like you said, that one director had you keep going and going until you lost your voice and you lost that gig.
Yeah.
How do you turn that around to remember that so you don't do that again, or to tell the director, no, I can't do this?
Yeah. So I mean, the knowledge that I have gathered from years of being in this industry of things not to do. If you're going to do a throat ripper like that, book it on Friday. Don't let them book you on Monday. Book it on Friday so you have the weekend to recover. And honestly, here's what I would say, and I say this directly to you, young lady, because I know that you're getting ready to, you know, you want to do this for a living. And one of the things that I wish that I had known back when I started is persistence. Stay persistent, but also treat your career. Your job is not an actor. Your job is an auditioner. That's your job. Like, and honestly, like one of the things that I did in my early years is I would get really built up about an audition. And this was on camera as well as voiceover. I'm like, oh my God, if I booked this, it would change my life like this, right? And just for the love of God, don't do that. Really don't do that. Treat the audition as the job and go in, because that is your opportunity to give that character your take on it and how you interpret it. and how you're going to deliver it. Don't worry about what the casting director is looking at. Listen to them. If they give you feedback, listen to them and take direction. But otherwise, just go in and be confident with your choices as an actor, and go in and just have fun with it. And then it's like DC Douglas, in a very disgusting manner. I'll put it this way, auditions are like toilet paper. As soon as you're done, it's out of your head, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, that's what I would say is one of the lessons that I learned, is really just be persistent. Your job is to audition. If you book the job, that's gravy. That's gravy. But really, your job as an actor, because that's 99% of what you're going to be doing, is auditioning. So if you're happy in life doing that, then this is the career for you. Let me see, anything else that I can talk about with the industry?
Oh, what about choosing an agency? Because I've heard that some specialize in like animation, some specialize in commercials, some in games. How would you go about basically choosing an industry or agency? Yeah.
That's actually a really good question, because there are different agents have different specialties. Like some specialize in kids, some specialize in Spanish speaking or whatever. I would just do your research. There's a, what is it, the voiceover universe. Also go to voicebank.net. And I don't know, I think that they got acquired by voices.com.
Right.
I think I mentioned that yesterday, but honestly, like, go to voicebank.net. If it's still there, it's such an amazing resource to go in and really take a look at. You can see every single agency in America that represents voiceover artists, and then listen to all of those demos. And they've got links to all those agencies. Do your homework on the agency. Go in, take a look at the agency, see what it is that they specialize in. Most of them will typically say, you know, in Los Angeles and in New York, Los Angeles more than anywhere else, will be animation, commercials, promos, that type of stuff. And then, pardon me, just pick and choose whichever one you want to submit to. And then, I would just reach out to them. And you were saying yesterday about your demo?
Yeah.
You came up here yesterday and actually got up, and I think you did a fabulous job.
Thank you.
So I would say is for you, take a class and then do your demo. One of the things that I also want to say is don't hold off. There's a person that I know who I would never mention their name, but I love them to death, and very talented. Takes classes, more classes than I've ever taken in my entire life, and always just has zero confidence, and is like, no, I'm not good enough, I'm not there yet. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Go do it. You know, you've taken all these classes, you've done all this, you're good. You know, there's no reason to not do it. So when we were talking yesterday about your demo, I would say do it. Go do it. Take a class. How old are you?
I am 23.
23. Are you in school or are you done?
I am taking courses for pet grooming.
Okay. And then have you taken any acting classes?
I was a theater major in college, and I have taken Crispin Freeman's online voice acting class.
Great. Okay, so then I would look around here, see if there's a class that you can get into. Or maybe, you know, Tony Oliver does a class, you have to fly to Los Angeles for it.
Yeah.
But you know, take those classes because, and when you take a class, make your demo. Do a practice demo. You can do it yourself. You don't have to pay somebody $1,500 to do it.
Okay.
Make your own. Cost you nothing.
Okay.
Just your time.
I've been told that like you don't want to make your own demo at first, because then if it's not as great as studio quality, then that's like what people will remember you for.
That's true. That's true. But I'm talking about just for practice, so that
Okay.
you can. Because what I want you to do is this: make your own demo. Listen to the demos on voicebank.net, and when you think that you're the acting, I'm not talking about the studio quality and the sound and all that other stuff. When the acting is on par with what you hear on the demos on voicebank.net, go get your demo made.
Okay.
That's what I would say. And don't wait. There's no reason. There's no reason to wait. You can do it. One of the things that just drives me nuts is, I love your shirt. One of the things that drives me nuts is the hesitation to pull the trigger on stuff. And there's no reason. You know, I thought you were very good.
Okay, thank you.
Agreed.
Of course. Okay, I think I've only got like 5 minutes left, so I think I can talk a little bit about one or two more things. Does anybody have any questions? No? Yes?
I might have one, so it might seem a little silly, but...
I love silly questions.
Okay, so what if, I guess by chance, if like, I guess someone like me
Mhm.
wasn't so good with people voices, but more so better with like, I guess like Foley sounds, or like...
Oh, yeah.
Animal sound effects or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm really good with that, with some sound effects.
Well, yeah, that's a Foley artist.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, what I would say is, what she was talking about earlier was the specialty agencies. I would look for a specialty agency and put together a demo of the animal noises that you can do.
Okay.
And then submit that, you know. I would also say it would be helpful to you if you could try to practice maybe some commercial copy, which, by the way, you can go to Edge Studios, or just Google commercial copy, and you can practice and get commercials to practice with. I would recommend practicing just to make yourself more marketable. But with animal noises, yeah, I think if you specifically reach out to agencies, and there has to be an agency out there that represents actors with that do Foley audio sounds. I would highly recommend you know, putting together a demo reel of that. But I would also say just practice, but just to make yourself more appealing to an agent. If you could do commercials at least, and commercials are easy. They really are. People like to honestly say that they're so complicated, but really it's the way that commercials are trending now is they want you to sound unpolished.
Oh.
Yes.
Really?
They do not want the, hi, I have the perfect announcer voice. They hate that. It's not trending at all. What's trending is just natural people speaking. Exactly. And that's what's booking.
Hey, I'm totally not a paid actor. What's up?
Totally not paid actor under.
Yeah.
Totally not a paid actor. All right, well, I think that might be our time. Does anybody else have any other questions? Yes?
So, I've noticed that there's some series or movies where, like, a character will have a separate voice actor for singing than for their normal dialogue. What's your thoughts of that? Or?
My thoughts on that is that if I had a character that had to sing, that would save my hide. No, I've actually had to sing before, and luckily it was for a children's show, and I had to be a dopey singer song, like that type of stuff I can do. But like real singing, like what you do, no, not in a million years. I think it's fine. You know, I've seen it happen. They've done it for years and years and years. It is what it is. If the voice actor who is portraying the character for the 95% of the movie that they're speaking is giving the delivery that's needed, but they can't sing, then, well, bring in somebody who can sing the song and you know, get as close to a match as possible. There are also, and I've been asked to do this, where they hire an on-camera pretty face, but their voice when they talk is they sound like idiots or whatever, and you go in and do ADR with your voice, their face. So I've had to do that as well, which is interesting. Okay, all right, I think that is our time. Thank you guys for coming to my panel. I appreciate it. I hope I was able to learn you a thing or two. Yeah, I think that in 15 minutes we're going to do closing ceremonies, so these lovely folks out here are going to come in and we will wrap this up.